friends. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a very, very special episode for you today. As you know, it is a very exciting week in the world of golf. The first men's major of the season begins today in Augusta, Georgia at the Masters tournament. And if you were here with us around this time last year, you'll remember we did a very special segment to kick off this exciting event. And so I'm thrilled to say that we are bringing it back again this year, with today's episode being the first of 3 episodes and the second installment of Memoirs from Magnolia Lane. So if you weren't here when we did this series last year, quick little refresher. These episodes are going to air over the next 3 days to help you just get hyped for the first major of the year, really by bringing you stories and traditions surrounding this super sacred and super special tournament, specifically from the patron point of view. Now, I said this last year, and I will say it again as a disclaimer. This podcast and these episodes are in no way affiliated with, nor are we sponsored by, Augusta National Golf Club, the Masters Tournament, or any of its affiliates. Just getting that out of the way again, just in case. But anyway, I hope these episodes get you excited for the start of the tournament on Thursday. And we really just want to share the family traditions and memories that deeply intertwine with both the tournament and the course that really just make that second Sunday in April feel like Christmas morning. Because what other tournament or major gives you that feeling than the Masters? Is it because it's the first one of the year, or is it because the landscape is so beautiful, or the tickets are so hard to get? And maybe yes to all of that. But I think mostly it's because the stories and the memories that get passed down by word of mouth. And from person to person, and from people who try so hard year after year to get in. So we're going to have some guests over the next couple episodes who have some really great stories and some really great memories of being there, and have a really interesting history and relationship with this tournament. And on every episode, we're going to ask each of our guests what makes the Masters a quote unquote tradition unlike any other to you. I've talked at length about my history with the Masters and what that tradition means to me. And I'm not going to reshare too much of my own story, but I did bring a guest with me today who, one, can corroborate the stories I've been sharing over and over, but who also has his own unique memories from our time growing up attending the tournament together. So with that being said, I'm so very excited and honored to introduce our guest for this very first episode this season. He's been shredding the guitar all over the country with major artists like Drake White, and has even been lending a hand as guitar tech to Riley Green very recently, performing the Military Appreciation Concert on the Island Green at the Players Championship. I'm so very honored and very happy to introduce my cousin, Nicholas Williams, or excuse me, Nick Williams. Sorry, I shouldn't call you Nicholas. That's not cool. Cuz, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me, Nikki. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad that you could be here. Before we get into the question that I mentioned before that we ask all of our guests, I did want to talk about that concert that I just mentioned with Riley, because what's funny is you posted and said that you were going to be doing that concert, and I didn't know that you were going to be playing that concert. I was going to the Players, and we just so happened to be literally passing each other on the interstate going down, because you played on Tuesday, and then we're coming back on Wednesday. I was driving down on Wednesday to go to the tournament Thursday. And of course, we miss each other.
I know. That would have been a heck of a reunion spot, because we haven't hung out in person in a while. That would have been good.
I know.
But it was, that was something else. When I found out we used this app to keep up, with the tour and everything and where we're going. And I saw TPC on there. I was like, hang on. And to find out we were doing the tournament, I was like, well, that's going to be awesome. And then somebody like the tour manager's like, yeah, it's going to be on the 17th. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Lo and behold, we show up and the stage is on the kind of it's not, they don't have the fairway, it's the little side fairway, so to speak, in between the tee box and the island green. And it was really cool to see it up close and in person like that, and then to get to hang out on it for 2 full days. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, because you guys got down there and performed when the weather was like perfect too.
Oh,
It was like 85 degrees and sunny and
yeah,
yeah.
super nice. And then we got the whole like that for them transporting us. We went under like the grandstands to like the tunnel. And if you're standing on the tee box or walking towards the green, looking into the grandstands, the box on the far right, we asked them where a green room was the first day. They're like, "Oh, it's not set up yet. We'll get you set up tomorrow." And then show day, that wound up being our green rooms. We had our own box with the whole. You can go out and sit in the covered seats and everything, and be whatever 40 feet from the green. It was wild.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. Now, do you think you could have made it onto the green, like, or would you have been in the water?
I think I would have made it onto the green. Like I have my irons or my strong suits with short ranges. That'd be all right. I bugged our tour manager quite a lot to see. I was like, "Hey, when can we tee off? When can we tee off?" And not yet, because they had players practicing even on that Tuesday.
Yeah.
So like they asked us not to make noise when they were coming by, and like totally get it. But then like they stopped coming by for like the last like 2.5, 3 hours we were there. I was like, "Hey, it's open. Like I'll go buy a gift shop, ball. I just need somebody to find me a club."
Right. I think the best way to tune these guitars for the concert would be to take a practice shot. Like we really gotta
I'm
see if
sure,
these guitars are like
make sure my wrists are nice and loose, and it'll be
yeah.
get the cardio up. I mean, if I can try 3 or 4 times just to make sure, I want to be able to do it. But they didn't. They even they were like, "Y'all, Riley might get to hit one," and he didn't get to hit one while we were there that week. So I feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
Even the low guys on the totem pole didn't play it.
Now, you obviously have a golf history and you obviously you played golf, but that history with golf, probably the same as mine, started in Augusta. And your love for Augusta. Now, so I'll ask you the same question that we're going to ask everybody. What does what makes the Masters a quote unquote tradition unlike any other for you?
I mean, not to quote kind of the theme of my favorite movie series too. I'm sure you said this, but it's been family for me like the whole time. I know they said a lot in Fast and Furious. That's kind of a joke for my buddy. But no, family. I mean, we were very fortunate enough. We've been going honestly since probably before we can even remember. Our great grandparents lived extremely close to the course. Like it's not. I try and explain it to people and they don't get it. And so we'd go up, and I remember we'd go for the whole weekend. And we'd hang out and just have a big family time there. Oftentimes, it seemed like it always fell on Easter back then. I don't know why. It seemed like every year it fell on Easter, but we do the whole Easter thing. And then when we were we were old enough to go, but young enough not to have the attention span to stay the whole day. I remember doing like split days. Like I think you and I would do a split day, and then like Hannah and Mallory would do a split day or something like that on the first few. And then to reiterate to people how close our great grandparents really did live to the course. My dad would always tell me like it was either him or either your mom would go. I think with Papa, our grandfather, on Sunday they could watch a tee off on 16, go back to the parking lot, drive to the house to beat traffic, and watch them walk up the fairway to put out on 18.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty close there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, yeah. Like I mean, we were very close, and like I mean, I've said this before about how we would like how early we had to wake up, to get to the parking lot and be there, before the gates would open and stuff. Like people would joke about like, oh, like, our kids would sleep in the car, like, oh, it's a drive there. Like we didn't have time to like fall asleep in the car. Like, we barely had time to like put our seatbelts on kind of
Yeah,
situation,
it
So
was wild.
yeah, yeah, it was pretty close. But yeah, I mean, for us, it was all about like family. And, to your point, like going before we could even really remember it. And, I know I've said this before too. I think for us, it was one of those, we didn't know that the Masters was this like kind of thing that was hard to get into, or this
Right.
like prestigious, like once in a lifetime type of ordeal, because of that, because it was just, oh, it's right down the road from our great grandparents' house. It's just like right there. We go to grandmama and granddaddy's house for Easter, and then it's also Masters week. And so it was just a thing that we did with our
Right.
family. We had no idea that it was this like prestigious, like, once in a lifetime, this doesn't happen for everybody type thing. It was just part of our routine. We had
Yeah.
no idea growing up
It really,
until we got older and people were like, I'm sorry, you get to go to the Masters every year? And it was
right.
like, oh, wait, this is a thing?
Especially getting to the age where you'd be like, oh yeah, where were you this last weekend? You're pretty tan. I was like, oh, I was at the Masters. Like, you've been to the Masters? It's like, I don't want to sound like a butthole, but like, yeah, like, oh, so this year it's like, and the one before that, and like a couple more, because again, very lucky. We were grandfathered in due to our grandfather, and it was something else. Because like as a kid, like going back like to family thing, it's like before knowing what it was almost like going to the golf tournament for half the day was just a little break from like playing in the hammock out back of grandmama and granddaddy Bell's, and they had this little like camper and stuff, and like this, I think was the shag carpet maroon colored. I remember they had like super thick shag carpet that was like maroon, and then you go into the back hall. It's and then yeah, I got in trouble for breaking a glass. I put it in a vice spin grip thing one year, and then like yeah, going to the Masters was the break between playing with the cousins and hanging out. You can see everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. The going to the Masters was the way to actually keep us out of trouble, to keep
Right.
us out of picking flowers out of the garden that we weren't supposed to pick, and from breaking very valuable, expensive crystal chandeliers and very old, um, you know, b- old things that, old people keep in their houses that they shouldn't keep around kids. Like,
Yeah.
that
Like
was the way.
the Coke out of the old Coke bottle. Like I'm gonna drink it. It's sugary looking. Yeah.
Right, right. That was their way of getting the kids out of the house so they would stop breaking stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. But, for other people and that was not like, it wasn't just, oh, let's take the kids to the golf tournament to get them out of the house. It was, this is the once in a lifetime thing that they're never going to get to do. Um, but it was so different but that's not to say that plenty of people who live in Augusta and grew up in Augusta probably had very similar experiences to that, like, and it was very similar for our parents too,
Mhm.
growing up. Because our grandfather had these tickets his whole life, and
Right.
so our parents had that same experience growing up. It was the same way. It was, okay, well, it's Masters week. We're taking the kids to the tournament. They're coming with us to the tournament. We're going on this day. We're going on that day. It was just what they did during that week.
Right. That's what I was talking with Dad before you mentioned out that you were having me on this and everything. I've talked to the new camp that I'm in with the Riley guys. They're all big golf guys, and I've talked about the Masters. And it's like, oh, you've been? And it's like, yeah, how many times? So I was like, I would imagine I've hit at least half of them. Most of my life. I'm 31, so that's going to get me in the ballpark of between 12 and 15, because there's some years where we live too far away to come. Um, and then he was like, yeah, he's like, well, just remind everybody that like me and your Aunt Sheila, we've been at least 50 times. Like we've got some stats on everybody. And so again, not to like rub it in, but that's just growing up with Papa having tickets. That was a thing, a normal thing. Whereas like, you got people that will wait years to get a Wednesday practice round ticket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
I know. I
it's
know.
something
I mean,
older age, like it, hold near and dear, and realize, I truly realize how special it really is. And, joke with people that are golf fans about, oh yeah, been off several times, but never wanting to be like, because I'm always like, you have to go. It's the prettiest place on earth. You'll see. I haven't been to the Great Pyramids yet, but I beg to say it's up there.
oh yeah, I know exactly, and that's why I joked with a friend of mine recently that like we're Masters tournament nepotism babies is what we are.
Yeah.
Because of that. And but that's why, like you said, it's not we don't say that to like to brag and be like, oh, we've been 50 times or whatever. It's
Right.
when we say that, we turn around and say, but let me give you advice if you're going, and
Yeah.
let me tell you the best spots that you can see these shots, and let me tell you how to get the best experience, and let me tell you where to sit to see this, and if you want to follow this person, do this, and if you want to you know
Yeah.
like mix these two sandwiches together to have the best taste, or whatever,
Right.
like
Yeah.
let me get you some pro tips in here, because we know how special it is, and we want other people to experience and have that like special feeling too,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can help you fully. Yeah. We should just start like a side travel masters agency business. Like tell everybody the best way. I saw you wrote the article the other day. I didn't see that. That was
Yeah.
pro tips for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I did want to ask too. I remember there was one year, I think, I can't remember who it was, which player it was. Um, but I do remember I think you had gone with your dad, and if it was a divot, if it was a ball that you got from Phil Mickelson when you guys came back.
Maybe maybe like I don't know, a different piece. I was trying to remember like cool stuff like that, and I want to say I got one from BJ Singh one year.
That's right. That's right. It was the
Pretty
year
sure
he won. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
that was at the Masters, and like I remember we were like, because granted it was nothing like our grandfather was able to follow the players, but like even when we were kids, the security was tight, but like you could once the player goes past the rope, you can kind of walk down the cart path and stuff
Mhm.
like that, or through the fairway. But I remember he was on the cart path for some reason, and the ball dropped out of his bag, and I grabbed it and looked at my dad. He's like, "You need to try and return it." So I was like, "Excuse me, Mr. Singh," tried to hand it back to him, and he was like, "Oh no, it's yours. Hang on." And then I pulls out the Sharpie and signs it for me and everything. That was pretty cool. I'm pretty sure that was VJ. I'll have to go. Dad's got this golf memorabilia cabinet. I'll have
I
to
couldn't
consult.
remember which player it was either, but I remember vividly, like, you guys coming back into the house and your dad being like, "You guys are never gonna believe this,"
Yeah,
and him telling that story, and like both of you guys just like lighting up, and like you guys like interrupting each other trying to tell that story when
it
you guys
may have
came back.
also been the and I grabbed it in the other room, but you can barely see it, so I won't even embarrass myself holding it up. But it may have been when I got Fred Couples to sign my Tiger Woods hat when the TW hats first came out.
That may have been it too.
I got
Yep.
Freddie was I think it was outside of 18. Where I was able to get him to sign my hat, thinking like surely he's probably not going to appreciate this, but like every kid at that time had the TW hat and was head to toe Nike. That's just what it was. If you were a young dude golf fan, uh, and I got him to do that, but then like Dad told me a couple years later, we were talking about the story. He's like, yeah, I really, I wanted you to get that Freddie autograph, but I really wanted to meet Jim Nance because Jim Nance was like 4 people away from Freddie. So that may have been the story we're thinking of too.
Yeah, I vividly remember, and like I said, I couldn't remember which player it was, but I just remember you guys both coming in and being so excited to tell that story, and just like both of you being so like wide-eyed and just big smiles, and like you couldn't contain your excitement and interrupting each other trying to tell it,
Yeah,
and being so happy. But that's just part eh, of of being at Augusta, and part of not having cell phones, and you can't like, take a selfie with someone, somebody as they're walking by, and you can't send a text being like, I just saw so and so, and everything is word of mouth, and everything is, telling these stories. And I remember even after so many years of going with our grandfather and going with him, and he's told so many stories over the years, like he would from going from like 1959, like he would every once in a while just tell you the story. You would be like, "What? Really?" And
yeah,
it just from randomly like remembering something over the years. And I remember going with him in 2019, we're sitting there on the second hole. And we're sitting there and we're just, watching people and watching this. And we were talking about how big the crowds were and how like they had let so many people in that particular year and how it was just, crazy big and how part of it was due to Tiger and that. And he said, well, I remember when, when Jack and Arnie were playing against each other. And he said, I remember when they didn't like Jack. And I remember them watching them booing Jack. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I was sitting right over there. And he starts pointing. He goes, I was sitting right over there. And I watched a big crowd of people boo Jack. I said, here on this course. He goes, yep. He goes, I watched a crowd of people boo Jack. And I said, you did not. And he goes, yes, I did. He goes, and then they had to come out and say, don't do that. And, by the end of the week, they weren't doing it anymore. But, it happened, that because they didn't like each other back then. They were arguing, they were fighting, and but just the things the crazy stories that you hear like that you just never never in my life would I have ever thought that you would hear that Jack got booed in Augusta.
That's pretty well. I think though from the Papa, I started this book called My Grandfather because talking about those pro tips of where to sit on the course. Do you feel like this was the case too? Not only he had his route planned out, but it seemed like he could always tell you the last several years that they went, what route they took, what days they went. Not just he just have his sit at number 2 and everything. He's like, oh, but this year we actually hung out on 14 a little bit longer than we normally would have, and then did that. So his attention to detail in those memories and stuff is pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was crazy too, because he had a different route for different days. And he knew that oh, well, Thursday's a better day to sit here and Friday's a better day to sit here. And, he also, he had the hole locations memorized too. He knew what days the hole locations were where. And I know a lot of people do. A lot of people, even people who don't go have some of the hole locations memorized, but he knew exactly where every hole was going to be. And he knew based off of that, which hole was a better hole to go sit on as well. And so that was always so fascinating to me to be especially going with him, to know, to just follow, to follow his lead. 'Cause he was going to be the one to map it all out.
Right.
It was also fascinating to go with him because he had a very, very routine in terms of what time to get snacks and what time to get lunch. And he was also our grandfather had diabetes. And so he was very we're going to get snacks about 17 times today. We're going to get snacks at every single one of these concession stands. We're going to get multiple snacks at every concession stand. So that was another reason I really liked going with him because, you got snacks every single time you passed the stand. You got snacks. So that was also a perk.
He got me hooked on Snickers as a kid, but I think the last time I really ate more than just a tiny Halloween size Snickers was at the Masters with Papa, because I was still a young kid. I was like, Papa, can I, how many Snickers can I have today? He's like, as many as you want. He's like, you can do that because Papa, he'd let you have cake for breakfast if you wanted to, if you sneak it in. But I had 7 that day, and I don't know if I've ever completed a full Snickers bar since then. I hurt myself.
Yeah. That was, he let us have anything that we wanted. And for a man who had diabetes, he let us eat as much sugar as we wanted too. Which, was very funny to me. But I think what was also very funny is he was also a penny pincher. And I think that is why he liked the Augusta concessions, is because he would let us have whatever we wanted because it was $1. Sure, eat as many sandwiches as you want because they're $1.50. Get as many candy bars as you want because they're $1.50.
Absolutely.
If we're
reasonable professional sports event in terms of pricing for food, even beers. Now that we're old enough to enjoy those, that's they're
Yeah.
not terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like I don't we didn't venture into like the pro shops that often. Like if when we were younger, it was like, all right, if you behave, we can stop in there, we can get like, a hat or a visor or like, a shirt or something. Like, but he was always like, the prices in there are too expensive. I can get the same shirt at like Kohl's or
Right.
Walmart or something. But
Exactly.
like he was okay with the concession stand and buying us whatever we wanted there because it was like it was cheap. It was
Right.
like very cheap.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was and that I think is why Augusta is great for, when families get to go and my families get to make memories there is because you can have a full family meal and you can eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner for your whole family for a relatively good price. You can't go to the Braves game and you're gonna fork up a lot of money for the food there at a Braves game.
Yeah. That's what maybe like if everybody would just go more expensive on the ticket side and then let concessions be a little better. Maybe a wait list every week for the Braves games and you can get a $2 water.
Yeah, start making the Braves games a lottery situation and
That's
like the
right.
Masters, and
You
then
can only come to batting practice and then you wear a yellow shirt and then everybody with a yellow shirt has to get out.
yeah. Well, I don't know because the Falcons tickets are pretty expensive and they have $2 hot dogs.
Yeah,
So, or the Falcons tickets are pretty cheap and they have $2 hot dogs. So I don't know. Well,
that's true. That's true.
yeah. Well, before I let you go, I do want to hit some rapid fire Masters questions.
Yeah.
And so these are kind of all over the place, but we'll start with your favorite hole at Augusta.
Um, I would probably say two, just because I remember that always being like Papa and Dad, and I think even Aunt Sheila's one of their favorites because Papa would always take us there. And then, yeah, I would say two because I got to camp out on that one a lot. I think 2006 was one of either the first or second year they were doing that junior pass, and I think you got me beat by a year or two, I believe. So you had already turned 15 or 16. But we get to use the junior pass, and me, Dad, and Papa all got to go, and we camped out on two for most of that day. Like I don't know, we may have gone to peak at 13, but like two was like this is what we're doing today. So
Mm-hmm.
that one holds a special spot.
Yeah, that one's a great one. And there's some great like you see some good scoring on that hole.
Because
That's a good
also I forget I'm terrible with my master's history and layout. But if you're sitting at the green on two, is it 5 tee boxes to your left?
It's 8 is right behind you, and 5 is like up to the if you're sitting on the green, 5 is like up to the left, like a little ways behind you.
Right.
But right behind you is 8.
It's 8, yeah, the 8 fairway, right?
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you could you could see a good amount of golf there, and it's watching those approach shots on two are pretty stellar.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, favorite winner that you've been alive for. Like we can't say like Jack because
Right. Golly, I don't know. I mean, just growing up with him running the game, 2019 Tiger coming in and doing it after everybody people always put him down, and he's like, he'll never come back. I'm like, that's Tiger Woods, y'all. Like,
yeah.
And so it's got to be Tiger. It's 2019.
I know it's hard not to say him, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I fully cried when he won in 2019. Like not just like little baby tears. I mean, like big old like sob tears.
I inappropriately yelled in the hospital. His mom was in the hospital this time, and we were watching it on the TV, and like he's finishing out on 18. I'm like, whoa! And I like run out in the hallway and jump up and do a Tiger fist pump, and then like nurses come out and they're like looking around me. I'm like, oh, sorry. So yeah, it got the best of me, and like a somber like unit there. I was like, sorry, Tiger Woods just won the Masters again after everybody else. So yeah. I bet it was emotional for a lot of people, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, that one's it's hard to not say Tiger. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that one's
I
hard.
mean, it's cool. Like when Phil finally got one, like that was awesome. And then seeing all these other people do it. But Tiger's 2019. Like, yeah, he already had a couple, but people put him down and out, and at least in our lifetime, he's the greatest. I think that's undisputed.
Most memorable shot, like that you can remember from the Masters, whether it be like a winning shot or even like a bad shot.
Yeah. I mean, probably going back, wasn't the famous Nike commercial, like the Nike swoosh Tiger thing at the
Yeah,
Masters?
yeah, yeah,
I think he's gonna run my
yep. All
fashion.
these
But
answers, yeah, probably.
that one was good. And like first time, another Tiger story, but watching him going with Papa one year, Tiger was maybe like 7 feet in front of me. His ball landed right where we were standing because our grandfather was not about following people, like, especially when it was like Tiger craze. Like
Yeah.
you weren't about to follow Tiger Woods around the court. He's like, no, that's just ridiculous. You'll never get to see anywhere. So we
Mm-hmm.
went a couple holes ahead, excuse me, and stood there. His ball lands right there, and I mean, he missed the shot bad and let out a string of profanities. And I remember like my eyes getting this big. I was like, I didn't think Tiger Woods cussed like that, Papa. He's like, they all do, Nicholas. So that one, yeah, both two Tiger shots, one really good one and one not so good one.
Yeah, but one you actually got to see pretty close in person.
One I got to see in person. Yeah, one was. I think though, didn't the famous Nike one? I think we were still going to Augusta at that point.
Yeah, that one was on 16.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
Uh,
think were we
yeah,
still
that one
going
was
to Grandma McGrinity Bells? Because I think that was like still early Tiger.
that one was I'm gonna have to look this up. That one was 2001. That was Tiger's 2001 Masters.
Okay.
So I want to say I don't think they had sold the house yet
Yeah.
by that point because I was in 5th grade. So no, yeah, I don't think they had sold the house then. But yeah, that was on 16 in Augusta in 2001.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, I don't know what my shot would be. I think actually, I think one of the most memorable shots for me would probably be in that 2019 Masters when Molinari hit it in the water on 12
Oh yeah.
to like start the like trajectory of like Tiger, like, all right, now like that is what started like Tiger's victory.
Right. Yeah.
Before that point, it was like, oh, I don't know, like they're getting close, but like it's not really possible. I don't really think it's gonna happen. But then like when he hit it in the water, it was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
this could happen.
That's true.
And so I think like because when I think of the 2019 Masters, like it's that shot for me that sends it toward the victory really. So I don't know. That's probably the shot that. Although actually, I don't know. That's probably the like most memorable TV shot if we're talking like both TV and then in person.
Yeah.
In person shot. I actually was there and the year Bubba made that shot out of the pine straw
Oh.
during that playoff. I
Yeah.
was like just around the corner in the pine straw when he hit it out of that pine straw.
Oh.
And seeing that in person was nuts.
Those guys are wizards with a golf ball. It's like
That was crazy.
I will say, was it the was it the year that DJ won the Masters? I can't remember if it was that or like either the next tournament or next major. But him and him and John Rahm had to both sink like these 35-ish foot like double triple break putts to secure a playoff.
It was the Bridgestone, no, not
Okay.
Bridgestone. It was the BMW championship, for in like 2020 I want to say like 2020 or like 2019 or something. But yes,
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I remember watching that live, and I was just like, that has been my favorite, like, back and forth, like, all right, it's getting serious shots in golf in the last couple of years.
Yes, yes, I remember exactly what you those 2 putts because they were both in, like, the most unmakeable putts that you could ever see.
Yeah,
I
and I
wanna
think
say it was the BMW Championship.
yeah,
Um,
didn't Rahm have to sink it to I guess either win or tie, and then DJ had to make his to force the playoff or to still win. I forget exactly what it was, but
I think they were both in a playoff, like, and it was to determine who was gonna win for, like, to go to the next round of I think it was, like, heading into Eastlake,
yeah,
to the tour championship. But, yeah, both of them were, like, the most insane putts I've ever seen with the most ridiculous curve and the most ridiculous break, and, yeah, it was that was n not nonsense. Um, yeah.
it was like they just like injected themselves with a little speed right before that because that dude's been making some ridiculous putts lately.
But only only from, like, 60 feet away. He can't make them from, like, 2 feet away
Yeah,
for some reason.
yeah, get
No.
inside 2, 3 feet, forget about it. But these impossible, like entering the cheat code on Tiger Woods 2006, PlayStation, then he's got it.
Alright, 2 more rapid fire questions. Who's your pick for 2023 to win the Masters?
Scheffler's on fire. I mean,
Yeah, I
he's
know, it's hard to not pick him. It's hard.
yeah, and he's super nice, and yeah, he's just I think he's my like yeah, I think he's gonna do it.
You think he's gonna go back to back?
I'd like to because who went back to back last?
Um, that's a really good question. Um, I don't know who's the last person to go back to back.
Can I cheat real quick? Can we cheat on the golf
Yeah,
Unfiltered
yeah. Who's the
rapid
last
fire?
person? Probably Tiger.
I that's what I'm guessing. Yeah, here we go. Back to back winners.
Or is it um yeah, Tiger. There's not been a back-to-back Masters winner since 2001, 2002 when Tiger won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be cool too. Either that or I always like I have a hard time not rooting for something like once we get into end of the day Friday starting Saturday, if somebody that hasn't won it is looking like a prominent figure. I do like rooting for somebody that's never won it. That's always
Yeah.
been super close.
I know. I know. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Like I would love to see Rory finally get it.
Yeah.
But like he's been so all over the place lately. Like he's like to come so close at the Arnold Palmer and then play so bad at the Players and then play so well last week at match play and then just like I don't know. He's been so all over the place. Who knows how he's going to play?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, last rapid fire question: pimento cheese sandwich or egg salad sandwich?
I gotta go pimento cheese every
Yeah,
time.
or are you an off the book like ham and cheese club turkey
I mean,
sandwich?
like, I mean, let's still go pimento cheese. I would usually get the ham and cheese on that rye bread
Yep.
it's hard to beat that. And then, the Diet Coke and a Snickers back in the day. Again, I haven't had one in a while, but those are that was the combo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or then ham and cheese and a green cup after finally hit the qualifying age for that one.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I know that the debate is always pimento cheese or egg salad, but I I will always go off the book and go ham and cheese on rye all day long. There are plenty of wonderful sandwiches out there, but ham and cheese on rye is where it's at.
That is, I mean, because I guess again between the big debate, the pimento cheese sits better for me on the stomach than the egg salad when it's super hot out.
Yeah,
And like,
egg. when it's 85 degrees, no, thank you. Yeah.
And if you're on the rope at Augusta, very rarely are you in the shade. And I know everybody wants to get close, so
Mhm.
you're gonna be cooking all day. So
Mhm.
yeah, go with the ham and cheese, folks. It's easier on the stomach.
Yeah.
Rye bread's good. It's yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
quite the experience.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. All right. Well, thank you again so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Where can our listeners find you? Where can folks find you? I know you're traveling all over the place, playing music all over the place. Where can people hear your music and listen to you?
I'm super lame on the socials. I only have Instagram, but it's my full name, Nick Williams, but double all of the I's. I know, but the regular one was taken. So NIICKWIILLIIAMS. And then I kind of post stuff on there. I haven't released any personal music in quite some time, but I play for other people and do guitar solos and such for friends, and I'll kind of post up there where I'm at, where what I've done recently or if something's about to come out, and then shows that I'm playing, and then with the tech stuff, you can kind of find that on the boss's website. He's got a bunch. We're currently on the Luke Holmes tour with him right now, so did my first stadium the other day, so that was fun. But yeah, Nick Williams, double all the I's on Instagram. And then I've got a Fore's only, but we won't get into that one right now. So
All right, good. Where's your next tour stop? You guys, I know you're just in Dallas.
Just to Dallas. We'll be in Indianapolis this week, and then we start picking up a couple more. We have a couple with Indianapolis, and then I get to do Nissan State. Oh no, Augusta or Evans, Georgia, playing some event there. What is it called? I will be there in a little bit. So anybody that has listened to this and I think it's the Fore something. There's something in Evans, Georgia. Sorry, I should have had that kind of on the ready. But Riley Green is playing something in and around Augusta, an event. Get your tickets and come say hello.
That's fine. We will put the link in the description of the YouTube. We'll put it in the link of the Spotify and Apple as well. We'll make sure to add it when we add it to all of our social promos and everything too. So don't worry.
I'll find it and text it to you.
We will not put the link to your farmers only.
That's good. That's good. I had to find somewhere to put my overall pictures, and it seemed like the most logical place.
All right. Well, on that note, we will continue with another episode of Memoirs from Magnolia Lane tomorrow, as we continue with more stories from this wonderful tournament that we all love so much. And you can keep up with us on social at Golf Unfiltered. And you can follow Nick. We will add his socials when we promote this episode. And you can follow it in the description below on YouTube or Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening to us. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for listening.